Okay, Jason Mumo, JM on the fly. Going to do my leader for check nymphing. It's the same leader that I use for wet flies and check. The difference is the length that I have between the flies. That's the only difference. Check nymphing, I want to keep my nymphs a little bit closer, so I try to keep them somewhere in the 16, maybe 14 to 16 inches apart, because we want to fish them down towards the bottom, and I want to keep my nymphs tight, 3 nymphs with an anchor nymph, and then my next 2 nymphs. And sometimes you put the anchor nymph in the middle, but the key is the leader to the system. Now, we have the same thing with wet flies, but I like my wet flies spread out a little bit further, so anywhere between 24 to 36 inches in between the flies, is pretty much what I do for a wet fly system. But the leader is tied exactly the same pound test, everything's the same. So let's get started on that. First thing you're going to need to do is take some 8-pound fluorocarbon. You're going to make these little loops that we're going to end up adding on, or what we call tags. Okay, so I'm going to take a piece of 8-pound fluorocarbon. I'm going to fold this in half, just like this. Okay, now I'm hoping that you could see all this, but basically what I'm going to do is after I fold it in half, and you got that loop, if you could see that, hopefully we could see this, I'm going to just tie a perfection loop. So that is coming around, and another loop just like that, okay? And then we're going to take this tag in and put it right in between there and pinch that down. Now the trick to this whole knot is that we pull the center 2 lines evenly. So you just take this tool and we're going to come up, and you can see what we have there. See this knot starting to form here? Okay? Now we can make that whatever size we want just by pulling that tag in. So I'm just going to get it close, moisten the knot, and I'm just going to pull, okay? And you can see what we got there. Now, when you're done, you'll have 2 tag ends. Pull on this tag end, pull on this tag end, okay? You're going to have 2 loops up here. Okay, so there's 2 loops at the top. Okay, see a double looped. I don't know if you could see that. Hopefully you could see that. But there's 2 loops at the top, and then there's a side loop. Okay, we're going to eliminate the side loop. Let's just cut that off and get rid of that. And we're going to eliminate one of the tags. Doesn't matter which one. Pick out the nicest one. Come in and cut that away. Okay. So now what you end up with is a double loop on for a tag end. So you got double loop here, double perfection loop, and that's this is going to be your tags. Now you tie a bunch of these up, hang them on your vise so that they're ready to go. I usually cut them off about 6 inches long, and that's going to be for your tag ends. Now let me show you how to build the leader. Leader, 20-pound fluorocarbon. Okay, we're going to take about 28 inches of that. Okay, and again on my rod, I already start with a 2-foot tippet of 25-pound fluorocarbon. So we're going to go with 20-pound fluorocarbon for the top of the leader, perfection loop, just like we did, except for this is a single. We just did a double perfection loop for the 8-pound test. Make ourselves a loop. Again, nice little handy tool. Basically took a pick, a dentist pick, and curled it around to make a nice little hook on there. Okay, so I just took a pliers and bent that around. Really nice for all my knots, for pulling and checking for strength. And again, we're going to cut our tag. There we go. Okay, now we're going to come down. Now we're going to jump right to 12-pound test. Okay, so we're going from 20 right to 12 pound. Okay, and this 12 pound test for this system, I want to be about 4 foot. Okay, so we get a good 4 foot length of 12 pound fluorocarbon, and we put that up against our 20. We overlap them about 4 inches. Okay, perfect. Basic. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to do a surgeon's knot. Okay, so 1, we go through that way. 2, just like you would put any tippet together with a surgeon's knot here. Okay, wet it, tighten it, pull that tag in, pull the other tag in, tighten that up. Again, I like to just bend it around my finger, and I like to come in and just snip these tag ends just like that. So hopefully you can see what that looks like. And again, every knot gets tested. Again, we have 4 foot now of 12 pound fluorocarbon. Now, we're going to take the other end of the 12 pound, and now we are going to do blood knot. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to stick this end right back through. Okay, like that. Again, catching the loop. And I'm just going to pull that tight. Not tight, pull it so that you see what that looks like there. See how you can get your fingers around there, about a 1/2 inch of knot, and then we're going to simply take that off. Okay, and you end up with a little tag, and I'm not sure that you can see that, but you end up with a little tag, and maybe I can put something behind that so you can see better. You end up with a little tag going through, maybe it's there, that's probably better. See the little hole there? So it's basically, you know, all you're doing is what we call clinch knot. So that's prepped and it's ready to go. Now I'm going to drop down to 10 pound test. Okay, so we'll take a piece of 10 pound test, and again I'm doing a check rig, nymph rig, so I'm only going to cut a piece, maybe 20 inches, okay, if that. And I am going to switch. I want this part with the knot in my right hand, okay, and I want the 10 pound in my left hand. And I'm going to put that through the little hole right there. Fold it back around just like that. And I'm just going to take this, now that I have this 1/2 inch of grip, and I am going to twist that to where I have enough of twists. It looks pretty nice. Come back through the hole. And again, if you don't know how to do a blood knot, there's several videos out. I'm going to pull on the tag ends, slowly bringing this knot together. And you can see see how nice that's pulling together. I don't know if it's a barrel knot. There's a difference between a barrel knot, I guess, and a blood knot, but this is pretty much what you're forming is barrels with your tags coming out the middle. And I'm not sure that you can see that, but my tags are in the middle of that knot. That's important. We're going to turn this up just like I do on my finger, and we're going to come in and clip off those tags. Again, make sure it's wet, make sure it's nice and solid, okay? If anything breaks, we want it to break now. Now we got 10 pound test for approximately, let's say, 16 inches or so, okay? And we're going to do the same thing, fold this around, twist, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, come back through with our tip, just like that. Grab our little hook, grab the ring, tighten that thing up, and you can see it just tightening up. Okay, so we want to get this loop through here. Like that. And again, tighten up. We want it to be open a little bit so we can still get our fingers on it. Okay, just like that. This is the same as what we just did. You can see the little hole there, I believe. You can see that. And then what I want to do is I want to cut that tag end just so it doesn't interfere when we twist the 8-pound on. So now we're going to go to 8-pound fluorocarbon for our last piece. And again, just a shorter piece. Maybe you make this a little longer. You could cut this in the field to length once you have your other flies on. Again, coming through the 10-pound. Okay, 10-pound in my right hand, 8-pound in my left hand. I'm going to twist that around and come back through the loop. And the blood knot's basically 2 clinch knots. Slowly wet and pull the tag ends together, and maybe you could see this thing just, there you go, you see it just tighten up right there, so you get nice little barrels on that knot. Okay, and again, run your finger up and down it just to seat them, pull, let that baby come right up, and we're going to clip that off like that. Bam, done. Get a little closer there. Good. Okay, again, test your knots. Anything failing, you want it to fail right here, not on the crick. Okay, now between this knot and this knot, we need to put one of these extensions. So what we're going to do is, again, remember, this is a double loop. Put that behind the line. Put your line through the loop, so you're just wrapping around the main line. Pull it so it's kind of snug, and then bring it down to the knot and just pull on that. Don't really need to wet this, but you can. That's where this is going to stay, and now that is a tag end off of your right against that barrel knot, and that'll be free to swing around, and I'll show you that very shortly. Second one, do the same thing, which is the difference between your 10 and 12-pound test. Okay, where your 10 and 12-pound test meet. Again, you can moisten it if you want, you really don't have to. And pull to your main line. Okay, so now you got, again, a nice system. Okay, so we have a place for a check nymph off of there. About 16 inches down, we have another place for a check nymph. Right there's our other dropper. Okay, and then we have our point fly or anchor fly that could be placed down below this, and we could cut this off at any length. So that's the leader. That's pretty much what it consists of. And if I could show you why we do it that way, here's one with a fly on it. Okay, and you could see this fly dangling in there, and basically you could just take this thing and spin it around just like this, and it never gets tangled up. Okay, so as you're fishing it and you're doing whatever, this thing can actually spin the whole way around the hook and never get bound up. Okay, now if you make your piece too long, see, this could end up, your fly could end up grabbing that line. But you can see I have this to the point where you see how that's staying out, like I'm almost vertical, and right there it finally wrapped. So the chances of it wrapping when you're fishing on an angle like this are pretty slim. You know, you may get one that wraps around or something like that. But remember, if it wraps around, it should just be a bump, and that thing should straighten right out. So, does it matter how far away your flies are? Yes, it does. Okay, so the closer that you could tie your fly to that loop knot, the more it's going to stay sticking straight out away from the line. The longer the tag, the more chance that you have that that'll come back and wrap. You know, and I could barely even make this thing wrap. Right there I made it wrap, but again, one bump and it's free. So you'll be fishing this pretty well tangle free. And believe me, I use this system a lot, so, and it is very, very productive as far as as far as tangles. You know, you don't get a lot of tangles. Now, a couple tricks. If you do want it sticking out a little bit further, and you want it, okay, so then just make these little tags here with longer loops. Okay, see how long that is? Now, when that goes across and twists on the line, okay, look how stiff that is. That holds your fly out away a good 1.5 inches before you ever start to where your fly goes. And you can see how rigid that is. So just simply make a longer loop, and you'll hold your flies out and away from the main line, and you'll eliminate a lot of that. So these are little tricks that you could do just by making that loop bigger. And again, if you use a little tool like this, you can control the length of that loop and make them any length you want. Practice, you know, just like anything else. Practice is the key. So that's pretty much it. Again, I usually just start at the thin end, spread my fingers a bit, and just wrap. I'm not going to worry about the tag end part of it. Okay? Tag end part of it, just go right through, just like nothing's going on, and just wrap, right till you get to where you feel the loop in your other hand. Bam, I feel the loop. I'm going to stop, okay? I'm going to take my fingers out of here if I can, because I actually put them together. That's why you want to separate them a little bit. Got it. Anyway, this, wrap around once, wrap around twice, wrap around 3 times. And the only thing that should be a mess is your tags sticking out. So you see these tags that are sticking out? Okay, and all I do is I just fold them this way and kind of walk it down, walk the next one with it, and try and just keep these things so they're pretty much manageable. I may even take this one and curl it around. And this is just to get it in the pack. Again, it's very easy to straighten these babies out. But get these pre-made. And it's very important to have these pre-made. You don't want to spend all this time in the creek doing this when you could do it right here. I grab my little pack. This one here is already marked Check Nymph. And I just make sure that all my little threads or all my little extras are in there. And you can put, whatever. You can put a half a dozen. You put as many as you want in here. Tuck away the excess, and you put as many leaders in there as you want. And you have them pre-tied on the creek, ready to go for check nymphing. Now, like I said, the only difference between the check nymph rig that I just showed you and the wet fly rig that I do is 16 inches between the flies with the check nymph. Okay, somewhere in the 30 to 36 inches between flies on the wet fly, because I want them going through. I want to see a wet fly, and then 30 inches behind I want the other one coming through. 30 inches behind that I want the other one coming through. On the check nymph, you're fishing the bottom column. I want all them flies in that short little bow, or let's just say like a 45-degree angle from your anchor fly coming up. I want bam, bam, bam. I want them all right there on the bottom, so that when I come through fast water, all my nymphs are low. That all depends on the amount of weight, or the amount of weight of your anchor fly when you're check nymphing. Not going to get into that right now. This is basically just tying the leader, for the check nymph and wet fly. So that is all there is. JM on the fly. I am out of here.